talking less and just listening more to see what their true needs are and being able to meet those needs most efficiently as possible.
Welcome to the No Excuse Pro podcast, your weekly dose of motivation and actionable advice. If you're a realtor, financial planner, business owner, or anyone who's tired of making excuses and ready to take your success to the next level, you've come to the right place. Join your host, Kevin Brierton, each week as he chats with industry leaders who are going beyond the excuses to achieve their goals. So no excuses accepted. Let's get started.
Michael Roosevelt, thank you so much for joining me on the No Excuse Pro podcast, where we're helping people take away these excuses so they can achieve their goals and have a more fulfilling life. Man, how are you doing? And I appreciate you coming on. How are you doing? And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. And there will not be any excuses here. I'm not on this podcast, folks. So I am honored to be part of it. I've always looked up to you, not only because you're taller, just because of all your success over these years. And folks, this guy is Mr. Consistency, always consistent with the right habits and behaviors. So when I do grow up, I do want to be like you. I've been doing great, riding out this this crazy market we're in, and I think it's been really, for me, refreshing in a way, looking at the silver lining and the glass half full, to have more time with family, to be able to reconnect on a deeper level with clients, especially with both of our businesses being so tied to purchase. So
a couple things on this. The listeners may not know. So you've been in the mortgage business for how long?
Yeah, so I actually got my start in 2001. And started originating in 2006. Awesome. Before the child labor laws were enforced. Yes, my name's Mike Roosevelt. I'm a mortgage loan officer at OneAZ Credit Union. We're the second largest credit union in Arizona.
So, Mike, share us a bit about your journey, like what led you to your current position now, and then just kind of give us a brief background of how you ended up doing what you're doing now, because you've been in the business a long time, and just kind of curious your journey.
Yeah, so started with humble beginnings. Grew up actually from the Midwest, so grew up in inner city Detroit. And then my parents randomly had a temp job in I believe it was the early part of 2001. And they just needed someone to go into a file room, reorganize all these files based on a new system. And so I spent the summer there. I was 16 years old actually at that time. So that was my first foot in the door. Couldn't believe my first paycheck was $50. I said, "Oh my goodness!" And I didn't have to work outside in the heat. And then from there, was able to transition into really the first entry level position was customer service. So when I was 18, I did that, and then moved to processing and then originations a little bit after. But yeah, I grew up very, I would say, economically depressed, but I think that's given me a great perspective for the opportunity we have in this position.
So that might be something that is sometimes a common theme. Like you had to push through diversity to get to where you're at. But what's the one thing that makes a difference in your success over the years? What's the one thing that's made a difference in your success?
I would say, I love people. I, as you can tell, I have a dry, tasteless sense of humor. And just for me, this job, my dream job as a kid was a talk show host. So this is as close as I can get, still a desk job. But to be able to work with, I've worked with college football coaches. I've worked with so many different clients, and the relationships I've been able to build over that time, I think, would be my answer. And even even from the staff, like my wedding anniversary is going to be in my 10th wedding anniversary is going to be in on the 25th, a few weeks from now. And here, thank you, sir. Made it. And we even had an underwriting manager that I actually knew from that time I started at our wedding. So, this job just allows you to build a lot of relationships. I think I met you back in 2011.
Yep.
You were I haven't moved up as much as you have. I'm still kind of in the same space, but you were back in a store, almost like a storage room. You didn't have an office at the branch, and you've done nicely for yourself. But yeah, I think it's those qualities and that ability to build relationships with people that I love the most about this job.
So building relationships is great, and as you help people over time, I think those strengthen the relationships. And you're really good at kind of solving problems, helping people. Tell me a time when you had to overcome an obstacle for a customer that you're helping, and how did that make you feel?
Yeah. So just actually about 3 weeks ago, we just had this transaction close with young lady whose spouse unfortunately passed away. She had to sell a home, buy another home, and had a very tight timeline. And just going through that process and being there for her, making sure that at least on the lending side, everything was handled appropriately. And we were able to close actually 2 days early with only a 2-week COE, which was great. So seeing her, like going through all that and then just being there for the client, and that I think that's what I love the most about it as well. Just what you're able to give back on a personal level.
So what you're able to get back on a personal level going through that?
Right. Yeah. Connecting with someone, being able to see they have, here in her case, just a lot on your plate. And I think that's also very important for me and all of us to realize is we don't know what that other person on the other end of the phone or the across from the desk is going through, and just staying engaged with them really talking less and just listening more to see what their true needs are and being able to meet those needs most efficiently as possible.
I think that's really important. I think the making sure we slow down and not projecting what we think they should do onto them, because it's really easy sometimes to we actually had a Bible study the other night talking about this, and it's easy to, let's say somebody has ruffled feathers, they're upset, they're maybe not talking to you the nicest way, and you think it's because of what you did, but maybe it's something totally different. That's something that's going on in their life. And so we don't know what's going on in their life, let alone we don't know what we are able to help them with until we uncover that and listen to them. Sometimes we need to help them with it. Sometimes we just need to listen. Mm-hmm. Does that resonate with you?
100%. I think when I'm at my best, I'm doing that 100% of the time, because you really don't know. And then when you show grace and you show a little empathy, it goes a long way. And that's also for the folks on the other side of this wall, the underwriters, the processors. It's sometimes a very thankless job. And
even if we're in more, you could be in any business, right? So other side of the job would be, you look at, no matter what work you're in, your coworkers, to understand, hey, give them sympathy, understand where they might not be having a good day, but just lean into them. It's really hard to have a relationship with somebody by not knowing them. And one of the reasons why I like to do these podcasts is I just continually get to know professionals that I'm working with, and I learn something new all the time. And so I have a question for you. What is the greatest pain you're experiencing in your profession? And how could a partner, or what would the solve be for it? Like, what's the greatest pain? And what do you think the solution could be?
Yeah, I think we put a lot of time and money into technology, often thinking it'll be the silver bullet, it'll solve all our solutions, but it still takes a phone call, it still takes a person. We in lending, we experience a lot of regulatory restrictions, and we go through a lot of additional processes that other industries might not see. But I think, you know, eliminating some of those roadblocks and some of those items that, that red tape that we see would help, and combine it with a person more of that hybrid model where you're using AI, but then you're also having a person review it and explain that to your customer.
Yeah, I think AI can take you up to a certain level. But as you know, a lot of the questions and answers we get, there's really, you have to ask like four more questions to actually get the actual answer,
Right.
And whether it's, whatever profession you're in or what business you're running, I think it's important to just continue to ask better questions and get to the real meat of it. Because I love AI. There's some great ways to use it, and I want to highlight that even more at some other time. But I think the key is enabling us with tools. I don't care if it's AI. I don't care if it's Google search. I don't care if it's a telephone. All these things are just tools. So a book I'm reading, and I'm going to do some classes around this, is Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is one of the best books of all times, I believe. They talk about Henry Ford and how Henry Ford had a row of electric push buttons. He was actually put on trial because they said he wasn't basically smart enough, or he had issues with, he didn't know everything. And he's like,
Oh yeah.
why do I need to know all of it? I have a row of electric push buttons. If I need to know the answer, I got somebody that knows the answer. So it's the same type of thing with the tools. Now, could the visionary though is key. They talk about how he pushes people to create the first 8-cylinder motor, and they're like, it won't happen, couldn't do it on paper, it couldn't be done back then, right? And he kept pushing, and he said, don't come back until it's done. Well, he figured it out, right? I think the human element is the vision that we need, but the tools will be like the AI and everything else. Obviously, AI is probably going to pick things like this up and learn from us, but it does take I believe, a human touch on that. So let's transition to a couple questions here. I like to try to keep this in drive time. We're doing great on time. Got a few more that are really good questions I want to ask. If there's anything you can change about your typical day, week, or month, like what would that be, and why is that important to you?
I think the thing I focus on in improving is balancing time with work time and home life. So in improving that, so the work life balance, it's been a little bit easier just based on being in mortgage now. Volume is down. You have a little bit more time to manage, but improving that and really being engaged when you are with your family, not distracted by the phone, and being able to create more balance around work life, I think is something that I'm consistently working at, and always trying to improve, as we can be consumed in our jobs, at times.
Well, I think it's a very relevant topic, and it's important to. I actually don't believe there's anything I don't think work life balance is possible. And the reason why I say that is, there's going to be an imbalance all the time. So if you say a perfect balance, there's never going to be a perfect balance, because there's going to be times that your family needs you more, and there's going to be times that you need to work more, and that's okay. And so the key is figuring out what you want the time to be allocated to, and how you want it, and laying it out. Being understanding of, there's times you're going to have to work more. There's times you're going to take a break. You're going to push harder at certain times, being off. I think the key with the balance though is there's days and times of the month and times in the year that you need to identify when is done. So this is something that's been helping me. I've worked on, when is done. When is done? What does done look like for the day, right? Do you answer your phone at 7:00? Or are you done at 6? Or do you like, what is your flow, and what do you classify as your day being done, your week being done, your month? Like, how do you know when you're done?
Yeah, I think it's been an evolution for me. Initially, I was maybe sometimes falling asleep in front of my computer, just, they're trying to take naps between emails, and then it now knowing what I know and just improving efficiency. I never set up a day with back to back appointments. I try to leave each day open so that I have time to fill that in. I will have a set amount of tasks that are manageable. And to your point on Henry Ford, I know those buttons to push to be able to delegate those additional non priority tasks. So
Yeah.
my role is really customer engagement, staying in contact with the clients, past clients, current clients, prospects. So that's my priority. Continuing to drive that business. As far as knowing when to cut it off, it'll be day by day, but I think once those priority tasks are done, information's delegated out, then it's just, do I want to put in the additional time to prepare a little bit more for the next day? And I just, we'll base that case by case.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a one size fits all. I found that work will expand to whatever time you allow it, right?
Yeah.
So I have really pushed hard on certain timelines, like certain days. Something that was a game changer I've shared before on this is years ago I put together a business and life plan. And one of the things that I wanted to do was take my kids to school. And for a long time I took my kids on Wednesdays, and now I do every day, and I do another of my other kid, my son, on Wednesdays. But for a long time, it was Wednesdays. Okay. Wednesdays was cool because I would take the kids to school and then I'd work a late night. I put it in the schedule. My wife knew what was going on. And it was really important for setting those expectations. But also, I would work a late night on that night because then I didn't have to work late nights on the other nights. Right. I think there's an importance of saying, when are you done? Is it 5? Is it 5:30? I think we need that as professionals. Otherwise, like, we're not here just to be workaholics forever. Like, that's not our purpose in this world. Our purpose, yeah, we can work and we can provide value, but our purpose is not to just grind on and work for the man forever, right? That's not our purpose. So I think having a done time of like, I am done at this time, I'm not doing anything else. Yeah, if there's an emergency or I need something, sure. My thing is I'll check usually before I go to bed. Like if there's anything urgent, if there's some like blowing up, something that I have to deal with, which is very rare, I'll check and I'll see, okay, is there something that I deal with before I go to bed? And then, usually is not an issue. So that's kind of my process there, but I would encourage you and our listeners that put a line in the sand. When is done, and really think about what that looks like in your life, because it's really, really important on this subject. So kind of transitioning to the no excuse ethos, can you share with me, like, how do you hold yourself accountable or your team accountable to ensure success with kind of the no excuse ethos involved? How do you hold yourself accountable to ensure success?
So I think the biggest thing is communicating what your specific goals are. For myself, it's kind of silly, but I have started, probably a month and change into this. But at the end of the day, I just, to my manager, and I told him, you don't have to reply to me. It's just to tell you what I did today, not to be a micromanager, but just to say, here's how many calls I made, here's how many prospects I contacted. And it's been great because I've been able to share that, here's some tips on, here's some things to do to improve, or you're doing great. But I think it's collectively, and that could be your spouse, it could be a coworker, but just share that vision. And even preparing for this podcast, I did something I hadn't done in a while, just some self-reflection, really to take a look at, wow, I didn't think, how long have I been in the industry? To kind of review some of these topics. So I would say, just specifically, have a friend, allow yourself to be vulnerable, transparent with everyone, and just put it out there in terms of what your goals are when you've had time to think and process those. And then a good manager will be encouraging. I think on Richard's podcast, he said that, he's going to encourage those people that have life in them. If they're playing the violin or playing the piano, he mentioned really wanting to encourage them to stay inspired. And I think that's one thing I tell my team and also with my direct manager.
That's awesome, man. I love that idea. So let's talk about goals a little bit. It's like, what are the top things that are not happening in your business right now that you would like to have happen in your business or life? What are the top 3 things happening in business or life that are not happening that you would like to happen?
Yeah, I think in mortgage, we're typically based on volume or the amount of loans units that we're closing. So I would genuinely like to get to a point where I'm tripling what I'm doing now, and doing that consistently. I believe that would take more outreach and delegating more tasks out, those things that get you caught up in minutia and overcoming things and through the process. On a personal level, I've always wanted to just travel. I've traveled quite a bit in the U.S., continental U.S., but travel more abroad and be able to, have a position where, or be in a position where I can, go to New Zealand for a couple weeks and enjoy that time with the family. Do more of those things.
So let's break that down. What's important about 3xing and why not 10x? What's important about 3xing your business to you?
I think it's a combination of being able to know that the business is there. It's a starting point to be able to go. Your first step, essentially, to look at going triple instead of 10, just for the purpose of.
Why is 3xing important to you? Like, why do you even want to 3x your business?
I think it would get me to the point where I would have the consistency from both, production and income standpoint. From an income standpoint,
why is the income? What would be like? How would that make you feel, or why is it important to have the income?
Yeah, it just about being able to help more people initially, but for myself, my own self-interest, just to be able to have more, just more opportunity for my family. I think, coming up, we've been in this business a long time, looking over, the next 15 years, 20 years, if you do plan on staying in it that long, just saving more and being more prepared to retire early. I think, kind of my thoughts now.
What's important about retiring early to you?
I'm still probably doing this job or working somewhat. I don't ever see myself on the couch per se. I like working. I'm passionate about it, but I feel it would just be nice not to have to, right? To have that option, and to be able to focus those later years on the travel, on family and relationships at that point.
Very cool. That kind of brings us to travel, I guess, right? Because it like freeing up and getting that money, there's a purpose behind it. It's not just the money, it's the tool from what I'm understanding. And then the travel is a piece of what you're looking to go to. So on that New Zealand trip, when is your deadline to go?
Yeah, the deadline is whenever you communicate it to your wife and she hounds you until you buy the tickets. So New Zealand.
Love it. So when did you tell your wife you're going?
That is a good question. I think I have not. We'll see. I would say by the end of the year, and really have a plan together of, here's our goal for saving, and here's kind of our time frame when we want to go.
So are you open to my opinion on that?
I am, yes.
So Siri's talking to me. I think that it's more important to set the time and then figure out the plan later.
Yeah.
Because the issue is that so many people are so busy planning, and I believe in planning. I believe in planning. I believe in preparation. The issue is so many people plan and plan and plan and never actually execute. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of our no excuse ethos, right? Like you have to move forward with it. Okay. You can have the last thing I would want is something happened to you and it's 20 years later and you never go to New Zealand. What I want for you, your family, is I want you to do that now and enjoy time now. Whether it's a year from now or 2 years from now, whatever that looks like, put it on the calendar, buy the tickets, do whatever you need to do to make it happen. And now, obviously, you want to do this within somewhat responsible, look, right? I don't want to tell you to go blow a bunch of money and take a year off or whatever. But the reason why it's important, if you have a goal, you want to put everybody hears about specific timelines, but it really is important to put like a definite goal. Okay. So for example, a lot of homeowners say, I want to buy a house. Like, okay, by when? Well, I don't really know. I'm not really sure. I might sign another lease. Like, okay, well, so you sign another lease, but when do you want to buy a house? Like, you have not made the decision to buy a house. Just like you have not made the decision, yes, you want to travel. And I'm not specifically telling you, attacking you, right, Roosevelt, but it's like, hey, I want to help you. I want to help you get to that goal. And if that means that goal is going to push you a little bit, something that I've been diving deep on is a saying about goals where you set a goal, not just because you want to achieve a goal, but you set the goal to make something of you when you achieve it. So if you set this goal to New Zealand, what's going to have to happen to come together for you to do that goal? Well, you're going to have to get your team on board to help support you. You're going to have to get the finances in order to pay for it. You're going to have to free up the time in your schedule to go. You're going to have to mentally offload a few things and rearrange stuff at home to make sure it's going to happen, right? So those are the things that are magic in setting goals that are worthwhile, because you want a big enough goal that's going to make something of you when you achieve that goal. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
It's exciting, man. I mean, I'm looking forward to when you're doing it. We really wanted to go to Italy, and we kept talking about it. Like, we got to just do it. Luckily, we went right before COVID, so we were okay. We did it in 2019, and this year we were going to go to Boston for right during COVID, but now we're going to go this year. So we're actually leaving this week. Super excited about it. It's going to be an awesome trip, and I think travel and time away is really important. So whether it's time to think about your business or just to be completely unplugged, it really resets everything and makes it all worthwhile, because we're not just working to work, we're working to have a life and impact on people's lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. It goes to the saying, see it and you'll believe it. So you got to have that vision first, and then you'll be able to attain it. I agree. And taking time, doing things, listening to podcasts, personal development, being engaged to yourself and your growth and focusing on that is very important.
Yeah. Well, we're right at the 30-minute mark. I really appreciate you jumping on, Mike. I would tell you, talk about consistency. You've been a very consistent, great friend and person in my life, and you have been somebody that has really helped with that consistency, because you do a great job. You're an awesome professional, and I really appreciate you jumping on, sharing these. I love these topics. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for listening to the No Excuse Pro podcast. Mike Roosevelt, thanks again for coming on. You're amazing. I wish we saw some of your humor at the beginning. There's more there. I might try to squeeze more of that out on a later episode. I always love chatting with you. Everybody, again, thanks for listening to the No Excuse Pro podcast, where we're helping you break through the excuses and overcoming the obstacles to get your goals and accomplish your goals. So thanks again for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.
And there you have it, folks. Another enlightening episode of the No Excuse Pro podcast is in the books. A heartfelt thank you to today's guests for sharing their wisdom, and to you, our valued listeners, for spending your time with us. If you're ready to ditch the excuses and level up, make sure to subscribe and find all our episodes at noexcusepropodcast.com. Don't forget, the only thing standing between you and your goals is the story you tell yourself. So no excuses accepted here. Take action and make it happen.